Okay, so what I'm going to do now is going to be a little interesting. I am going to pull the sway bar out of here. This is part 2 of the front end rebuild. Pull the sway bar out of here completely. There's no reason for it to be in here anymore. 18 millimeter? Hey, 18, 17 millimeter, something like that. And then I'm going to pull the lower bolts for the front struts in here. So I'm going to pull the lower bolts for the struts here, and then I'm going to pull the upper control arm nut, which is I think a 15, and I'm going to undo all the assembly and stuff to it, and then here behind this cap I'm going to pry the cap off of there, tap it out of there. There's a 13 millimeter for the CV axle. So basically all this stuff is going to lay away from it, and I'm going to pull the CV axle through so it's free. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to pull the CV axle out of the front diff assembly inside here. I'm going to tap it through, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's knock that out real quick. Because the sway bar was being a pain in the butt, I had to actually take like an 18 wrench and hold it on there, and then use an 8 millimeter socket on a 3/8 impact to spin this out of here. So anyway, now I'll take the 15 mils out on each side, and I'll drop the sway bar out of here completely. Alright, sway bar's out of here. You see it's all removed now. I also took the 18 millimeter nuts off of the bottom of the front strut spring on both sides. Now what I'm going to work on doing is I'm going to lower the vehicle a little bit, and I'm going to disconnect all these lines. This 10 mil and 8 mil right here, and 10 mil up there, and just make it more loose, so I can set myself up for pulling the front cap here, 13 millimeter behind it, and I think it's a 15 or an 18 up there on that, to get that out of there so we can drop it down. That's next. Okay, while I was down here, I went ahead and pulled those 10 mils all the way around, and what I did was I used a stubby 1/2-inch drive impact with like a 6-inch extension, and then a swivel, and impact rated 10 mil, and you'll start to run them out and they'll stop. Don't continue, run them back in and then run them back out again, because you will snap those. So start pulling them out. When they stop, run them back in, then pull them back out again. They'll come out, but do not keep going. Now I'm going to drop the vehicle down and start disconnecting those lines I talked to you about on the side of the control arm, or the knuckle. I'm not going to take them apart, I'm going to take them loose. Okay, see I got all the 8 mils and stuff off. I got everything pulled out of the way. Pull the brake line down. I didn't unsnap the other side actually. I need to unsnap that other side. I just do it. No, I did. Oh, there's nothing on this side to actually snap into, so that's good. Now I'm going to work on popping these 8 millimeters off here. I'm only going to take them down to the end, leave a couple threads on, and then I'm going to smack this, and this control arm is going to pop up. I'm going to smack this with a hammer right here. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to pull the nut off completely, and then I want you to run it back on, because if you take that tension off of that shit will start spinning. So put it on a few threads and go ahead and knock that control arm out of there. Let me show you right here. See, it popped up. Now you're done there. You'll go ahead and buzz your 13 off. Do that on both sides. And then you'll buzz your 13 nut off right here. And then you'll start to take like a little pry bar or something, get behind this collar and start to pull that out of there. Or just lightly, see if you can lightly tap, 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 see if it'll come out, but that's probably not the best way to do it. Trying to work it out from the back is the best way. Okay, some models are 13. I did put the nut back on there, just slightly tap it, it started moving immediately. Some models are 13, some are a 15. Maybe they're all 15 and I'm just tripping right now, but I remember pulling a 13 off some of these models. But anyhow, to get this up here after you got it loaded back up safely, I would take my pry bar, kind of put it back here behind the spring on an angle, and you'll see it'll start to loosen. It'll start to put tension on that, and then you could actually pull it down far enough to squeeze that nut off of there, and then easily let the bar back up, and it'll be right out of it. Just be careful. I realized there was going to be a lot of tension on the wheel speed sensor ABS wheel bearing connector here, So I actually had to pull it out of this before I got out of control. And now I'll push this down. You'll see here, it's free floating on the lower control arm. Now I'll push this down and pull all that out of there. All right, now I got all that out of there, and this is just free hanging. There's really no pressure on anything right now. I went ahead and tapped the inside collar of the CV axle right here and tapped it right off the spline. So now I've laid it off to the side. Now I'm gonna go work on the other side. Really, if you felt froggy enough, you could unbolt that front end the way it is right now and slide everything down this way. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take everything apart so I can work open freely and not have to fight anything going back together. All right, so I just got the driver's side CV axle out. I had to come behind it with a pry bar and hit on this outside collar and have somebody kind of pull on it at the same time. And I kept tapping it, and I came behind it and pried it out the rest of the way, and then all of a sudden the snap ring back here popped. So now I'm actually ready to drop my front end. I won't drop my front end until the next segment. So there'll be a part 3 of dropping the front end.